All right, everybody, peace. Welcome to the Stby Basketball Show. Wherever, however you're listening, we're so grateful to have you with us. As you guys know, I'm your host, Sean Cottle, and we're going to be covering today some of the biggest news so far going on in free agency. Uh, the first of those being Klay Thompson recently signing a 3-year, $50 million contract with the Dallas Mavericks, and the other being Paul George signing a 4-year, $212 million contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. And I want to start with Klay Thompson signing with the Dallas Mavericks. And oftentimes, guys, we associate a relationship ending with one or both parties having a negative outlook or negative personality. So we automatically associate negativity with the relationship ending. And we automatically assume if one party decides to break up with the other, that person, that party is disingenuous, they're dishonest, they are disloyal, and they are quote unquote not a good person. But that's an inaccurate assumption, an inaccurate judgment on both parties when it comes to relationship ending. We have to understand that everything in this physical realm has an expiration date. Everything eventually comes to an end in this physical world. Same thing is true about relationships. Just because relationships end does not mean that either party were necessarily dishonest or disloyal or any negative adjective you would like to use to describe the person. Things just end. Things can run its course because everything has an expiration date. And just because something has run its course does not mean that it ended badly. It often can just mean that it just ended. It just ended because it was meant to. And that's how I view this Klay Thompson departure from Golden State. We can't allow the sadness. We can't, quote unquote, sadness. We can't allow the possible negative animosity, angst that's associated with Klay's departure. We can't allow those emotions to overtake and, quite frankly, cloud out all the positive things that Klay did in Golden State. Quite frankly speaking, all the positive things that Klay and Golden State has done in tandem will always cloud out the possible sadness that might be felt right now. So what Klay has done for Golden State is insurmountable. It can't be quantified. Klay Thompson is hands down the second best shooter in NBA history behind Steph Curry. He's going to go down as one of the 50 greatest players of all time. And him and Steph solidified themselves as the best backcourt of all time. And what Klay has done in Golden State is something that very few players are able to do in their career. What is something that very few superstar generational talents are able to do in their career. And Klay was able to accomplish that in Golden State. And similar to Kevin Durant leaving Golden State, things just end. Things just end. And the best option is for things to end sometimes. Similar to Kevin Durant and Golden State, he just hurt towards Achilles. He had the quarrel, the issues with Draymond Green, and Golden State was not particular about extending Kevin Durant long term, and Kevin Durant was ready to leave. He was ready for a change of scenery. And so things ended. Similarly with Golden State and Klay Thompson. There was just a difference of opinions. Golden State was not willing to give Klay a 2-year, $40 million contract, and Klay felt that he was starting to get back to somewhat of his prime, or felt like he had a couple more years left of his prime. We got to remember that this year, Klay was second in the league in catch and shoot threes, which in my mind points him as still one of the best shooters in the league with that stat alone. And there was just a difference of perspective within the two parties. And it's strictly a business decision at this point. But this should remind players, should remind people that there's no true loyalty in business. And the NBA is a business. It's entertainment primarily, but it's a business in most aspects as well. And it doesn't matter how loyal you are or how loyal you quote unquote want to be to a franchise. Once the franchise or organization realizes or believes that you're no longer an asset to them, they will get rid of you. And as an individual, you always have to be willing to make the decision that's best for you and your future. And that's what Klay did. And it's just business. And it doesn't matter how much you accomplish with the organization, with the franchise. There's going to be a time when you guys need to part ways, whether that is in the form of retirement or you going to another franchise, to another team. It's not always it's very rarely is it personal. And in some aspects, neither party did anything disingenuous to each other, like in this instance right here with Klay Thompson and the Golden State. They just had difference of opinions, and it was best for them to part ways. There was no other option where you could see these two parties moving forward together. And that's all it is. Do I believe that Dallas was the best option for Klay? We can have another discussion about that on a later episode of our show. I thought that Orlando would have been a good fit for Klay Thompson. I know they went and signed KCP. I thought that New York would have been a good option. I doubt, but they didn't have the cap space to sign Klay. And based on the options that were available, yes, Dallas was a good option for Klay Thompson. Now, does this make Dallas the prohibited favorites coming out the West? I'm going to need a couple more weeks to decide on that. But does this make Dallas better than what they were last year or this past season? Absolutely, no question about it. And if you're Golden State, was this the best choice to let Klay go? Absolutely. Now allows you to fully trend towards rebuilding. Now, I know Steph Curry is still on the roster, Draymond Green is still on the roster. I doubt those two players want to be part of a rebuild, so I won't be surprised if either after next season or the season after that, Steph Curry is going to be looking to explore his options along with Draymond Green. I know they just signed an extension. But it allows Golden State to trend towards rebuilding if they're not able to sign a key piece this offseason. So if Golden State is not able to sign an all-star caliber wing this offseason, I do believe they're going to start trending towards a rebuild and possibly shipping other options for Steph Curry and Draymond. But things just have to end sometimes. And that's how life is. It's not anything negative. It's an understanding that everything in this physical world has an expiration date, relationships included. But you can't allow the ending of a relationship to mar or cause you to have a negative outlook on what the relationship was. Relationships can be wholesome and positive, but they just end. Because that's how this physical realm works. Things just come to an end. They have to. But we should still be appreciative for what occurred and what you were able to learn and transpire and what transpired from the relationship, because everything is a learning experience. Same thing with the Klay Thompson departure from Golden State. Lots of positive things were accomplished between the two parties. And when you're able to reflect on it 15-20 years from now, you're going to say that was a great moment together. Same thing should be applied to our lives as well. But with that being said, guys, in our next segment, we are going to be recapping the other breaking news in free agency so far, with Paul George going to, or signing, my apologies, with the Philadelphia 76ers. So guys, be sure to stick around for all that. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back.